Welcome to the Art Lady Home. Today I'm going to show you my quick and easy chickpea tuna salad. It's a vegan friendly version. I'm going to use some vegan A's, but if you don't have vegan A's and you have just regular mayonnaise at home, because a lot of people who aren't vegan will make this recipe, just use regular mayonnaise. That's fine. That's not going to alter the flavor. And prepare this. What you're basically doing is you're using chickpeas and pretending it's tuna fish, and you're preparing your tuna salad exactly the way you would normally. You know, I love lots of vegetables in my tuna salad, so I'm going to be putting in a package of the baby carrots, 3/4 of a package of the celery, and then I'm using 2 sweet onions, and I'm using 4 cans of chickpeas for this amount. You could always half the chickpeas, do 2 cans at a time, and then use, half a package of celery, half a package of carrots, and then 1 onion. And then you're going to add enough veganese or mayonnaise to moisten your salad. And of course, it's on preference to how much mayonnaise you like in your salads. I love lots of vegetables in with my tuna. So I'm substituting chickpea for the tuna. So I am using those full packages there, but you adjust it to the way you like it. Now, some of the other seasonings you can add in here now, I'm going to add some bread and butter pickles, which I love in my tuna fish. You can use dill pickle as well. And then I have Dijon mustard. And then I've got some tahini, which you can put in if you'd like. Sesame seed paste is tahini. That's optional. And of course, your seasonings here. I've got some garlic powder, celery salt, dill weed, and then I've got some nutritional yeast. But these are optional as to what you would normally put into your salads. So there's the ingredients. So now I'm going to go ahead and show you how I prepare this. What I'm doing now is I'm mashing my beans. I do 1 to 1.5 cans at a time, and I'm mashing them so that the majority of the beans are smashed up. You want it to be mostly at least broken in half. So smash it so it's in half if you can. When I'm smashing in bowls like this, some of the beans I end up missing, which is fine. But like I said, you want just the majority mashed up. And I'm going to go ahead and add another can of my beans to this now. Now I've smashed up 3 cans of the beans. And it seems like the more you're adding in, the easier it is. Once you have a base at the bottom, you can see how I'm just whacking it, and it smashes them pretty good. And like I said, it's getting most of them, but you don't have to be picky to get all of them. A little chunk of bean here and there is fine. Okay, so there it is. There's that. 3 cans are in here now, and it is pretty dry right here. You can see it's pretty dry because I drained the juice. So now I'm going to show you what I did with my last can. For the last step, I took the can of chickpeas that I had left, the last can. I dumped out half of the juice, and then I put the whole can of garbanzo beans with half the can of juice into the blender. I also put in about 5 of these little baby carrots, and I blended the whole thing up. I processed it into a very a medium process, which is basically a chunky grate. See how it's kind of, I can still see little bits of chunks in here, which is fine. It's a thick consistency. You can see how thick that is. It's almost like a hummus consistency. And this gives it a little bit more creamy blend so that when I add it to my garbanzo beans, a lot of the bean, then at least a whole can of it, is finely blended. So we have a variety of finely blended garbanzo beans, and then we have some chunkier garbanzo beans. I like it blended like this. I mean, this is not necessary. This is how I just happen to do it because I like the tuna a little bit more creamy and not so chunky. And it seems like it's a little bit less work using the blender to blend it. So I'm going to go ahead and dump this in, and then I'm going to stir it up together, and then I'll add my vegetables. I went ahead and incorporated that together, and it smells just like tuna fish. Look how much tuna it makes too. Man, that's a lot. This is a half a bowl here. This is a pretty big size bowl. And this is just with the 4 cans. It smells amazing. Wow. Okay, so there it is. It's a nice consistency now. And we have some chunks, which is fine, and then we've got some of it smooth and blended. I really like the blending part of it. That really helps this. Okay, now I'm going to go add just a few heaping, this is probably a half a cup so far, of Vegenaise. I'm going to do a half a cup at a time because I don't want to overdo the Vegenaise. I just like a little bit of mayonnaise to moisten. So I'm going to stir that in. And then I'm going to start chopping up all of my vegetables. Now, whenever I know I'm going to be making this salad, what I do is I put the cans in the refrigerator overnight or a couple hours before, just so that it's cold as I'm making this. That way, when it's in the refrigerator in this consistency, it seems to cool off quicker. And as opposed to having those beans that are room temperature from the cupboard. So it stays colder, gets colder quicker, especially if I want to eat it right away. So I always have the beans chilled as I'm using them. So that's a little tip there. So that's a nice consistency right now, actually. But once I add all my veggies, I'm going to need another big scoop of that Vegenaise. But I mixed it up and blended it now, and the next step is to chop up and add the veggies. I am chopping up my onions really fine. I think this adds more flavor the finer you chop them. And again, some people don't even like onions, so adjust it to how you like it. This just makes it really amazing for me. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in. And that's the 2 onions. And here is the carrots. I cut those up as well, very, 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 very fine. I don't like big chunks of carrot in this either. But go ahead and cut it up the way you like it. And I'll show you what's happening so far. I've got my onions, and I'm scooping in these carrots. Before I cut up any more, I'm going to adjust it to see what I've got in here. You don't want it to be overpowering with any one flavor. And this, 2 days after this, 2 days from now, this is going to be so amazing because all the flavors blend together. It's always better, seems like, the next day. This is giving a nice consistency right now. Okay, I do want some more carrots, so I'm going to go ahead and chop up another batch of the carrots. I've used about half a pack so far. So a little bit more carrots, and then I'm going to do my bread and butter pickles right in here. Chop those up. Those I leave a little bit bigger. Now I'm taking the bread and butter pickles, and I'm just going to dice them a little bit here with the knife. And this is about a cup of them. It'll give a little green to it too, which is nice. If you have some fresh parsley, that'd be fun to put in here too. It'll look good. So I'm just dicing these up. They're softer than the carrots, so I'm not going to worry too much if they're too big. I just don't like getting a big, huge hunk of hard carrot as I'm eating. So here's the carrots that I put in. The second batch of carrots. Now I'm going to add this to it. The bread and butter pickle right there. And I'm going to stir that in. We're slowly getting bigger here. Now the last thing I'm going to dice up is my celery. And I do like the celery pretty fine as well. This is a huge batch, like I said. But if you have a house of teenage boys, you will know what I go through. That's why I am making a huge batch of this. Because of the teenage boy. Okay, there we go. I just finished washing all the celery. I'm going to use up the smallest tender pieces first and then see if I have enough. And if I do have enough, then I won't bother to put in the other half. These are the small tender ones in the middle The outer ones, the bigger ones, I am going to wait on before I chop those up, because I may have enough with the inner core. And some of my, I'll leave a couple of outer cores. So I'm leaving 4 of them, I'm taking 4 of them away from the original bunch. So I'm going to chop up this amount of celery here. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stalks and then some little. But these are the younger centers, and I want to keep all of this, because this has a lot of flavor. I want to keep all of these leaves here in my salad as well. I did cut off the end. I might cut some more off on here. Some of this big end stuff I don't like. If it's tough or whatever. I don't want that big end stuff. So I'm going to cut that off. Now I'm going to chop this up. Now the way I chop my celery is I first slice it down the middle a few times like this. And then when I do a bunch of them at a time, you know, 4 or 5 of them. And then when I'm chopping, it ends up chopping really fine like this. So, and I do a bunch at a time. That way I'm chopping 4 pieces at a time. So that's how I do my celery. So I'm going to prepare that, slicing it down the middle a bunch of times. And then I'm going to be dicing it this way. So I do it both ways. I'm going to dice that up and show you what that looks like. And the celery's dicing up nicely. And I think I will have enough. This is going to make probably, I'm guessing, about 2 cups of celery right here. So I'm thinking that's going to be enough celery, especially with all these little leaves at the ends. So I'm going to dice this up nice and add it. You can really smell it as I'm chopping this. That amazing celery smell is coming in to play. There, it's nice fine. A lot of people don't like celery and things. So I think if you dice it up fine, it'll be fine. There, that looks great. Yeah, so I'm not going to use the last 4 pieces here. They're washed though, good, ready to eat. I just incorporated the celery into this. I'm stirring it around, and I like it. I like the ratio that I've got from celery, carrot, onion to bean. So that's pretty good. It's almost a 50-50 because the bowl was about halfway with bean, and I'm almost up to the top, so that's great. That way you get enough of the other vegetables in here as well. Okay, so now I'm going to finish off. I'm going to add a little bit more mayonnaise to this, or veganese, as I shall say. Here, and then a couple of more scoops here, and then of course add it to how you like it. Some people love their tuna or vegan tuna swimming in this stuff. I do not. I don't like much. That's why I blended that can of it too. That helps give it some sauce or wetness to it. This is pretty good like this. Right here, and now I'm going to start incorporating all my seasonings. I'm going to put some celery salt. And I'm going to start with about a teaspoon of celery salt. And then I'm going to add a couple of tablespoons. I love this stuff. Dill. Where's my tablespoon measurement? That doesn't even look like a tablespoon. I'm going to add a couple tablespoons of dill. I'm just going to guess here. Right there. Dill's pretty good. That's about a tablespoon and then another teaspoon. Stir it around, and then you'll taste it to your liking. When you do seasonings and spices, I never dump a ton in at once, because, you know, you can ruin the whole pot. And where I'm doubling a recipe, sometimes things just don't work out when you're doubling things. I know for cakes especially. And I'm going to add the garlic powder. I put garlic powder in everything. Just going to do a teaspoon of that. Oops, I dumped a little bit too much. Just about a teaspoon. And then I'm going to do some Dijon mustard. Not too much now, because just a couple teaspoons, because mustard is could be a little spicy or tangy, I guess you'd say. I've made this before with a little bit of apple cider vinegar too. You can dump in if you'd like. Just a couple shots of that. This is nice and wet right now. And I'm going to finish incorporating that. And then I'll put in some nutritional yeast now. I'm going to do a couple tablespoons of that. 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. That's optional too. You don't have to do a nutritional yeast. It almost has if you've never used it before, it's almost a Parmesan scent to it and flavor. They use it in a lot of cheesy sauces. Or cheese sauces, vegan cheese sauces. It has, people say that it has some kind of benefits, so that's why I buy it and use it. So I'm going to incorporate that. Even seeds too. Some flaxseed. I mean, if you're into that stuff, you can even dump some a little bit of flaxseed in here too if you want to add that to your diet. Now I'm adding a couple of teaspoons of the sesame seed paste. And this has some oil. It's very kind of oily. So it's giving you some good fats. Oops, I don't want to contaminate my tahini dish. Tahini. There's 2 teaspoons of the tahini. Sesame seed paste. And there you have it. There is the vegan tuna. And let it chill. Even though my garbanzo beans were in the refrigerator previously chilling, it has warmed up a little bit while I've been making it. So we're going to chill it up and eat it, and it is pretty much the consistency of your tuna fish right here. And delicious. I love that I can taste all that celery through it. It's amazing. It smells so great too. So let me know in the comments how you enjoy your vegan tuna. Bon appetit.